friends, Heidi here from Rain Country Homestead. God is good all the time. Well, today I'm going to show you how I make my own homemade enchiladas. And I'm going to be doing beef enchiladas today, which is mostly what I do. Sometimes I do chicken, but beef is my favorite when it comes to the enchiladas. And I won't be showing you how I make the tortillas today because you can find that in a video right up here. And I am sure I'll be adding more videos up there, so if you don't want to click on these links as they pop up, remember you can wait till the end of the video, click on that little eye you see up in the corner when you hover your cursor over there, and it will show you a drop down menu of all the videos I mention in this video, and you can go check those out. So that's where you'll find how to make the tortillas from scratch. And what I'm starting off with is the sauce, and I'm using a lot of the ingredients I'm using in the sauce. Most of them are all food storage items, except for the beef broth, which is coming from the beef roast I cooked up the other night. So we've eaten on this beef roast a couple of times. So what I'm going to do is, you see this good healthy broth in here, and it is kind of bone broth because this beef had a bone in it. And I'm going to go ahead and leave a chunk or two of fat in there. And I'm just going to scoop out a good bunch of this broth and put it into my pan. In fact, let's see if I can pour some of it out without making too big of a mess. Well, I don't want all that fat in there. I do want to save that fat though, because it's really good for frying potatoes. So don't throw anything away. I just don't want too much of that fat in this particular thing, but you can even use this beef fat here, these chunks, as you can put them in your pan, use them to grease up your pan for the enchiladas, which I think I'll do this time because I haven't thought to do that. Usually I'll grease up my pan with the grass-fed butter, but I think I'm going to go ahead and use that fat because I have a lot here, and then the rest I'll set aside for frying taters in another day. So I got that in there. I'm going to put this beef back in the refrigerator until later, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this leftover beef and cut it up to use in the middle of the enchiladas. Alright, so I would say I have about a cup, maybe better. Again, this one's not going to have measurements, so just kind of, you got to play it by ear, that like I always do. This is one of those recipes I just throw together. And, you know, you'll want to taste it here and there, especially when you see what I do, because you might not want to use as much, maybe you'll want to use more, but I'm guessing you probably won't want to use as much as a lot of these spices that I'm using. So I'm opening up a jar. You see I use my Tattler lids. I always try to use the Tattler lids for the tomatoes. Even though the metal lids have a coating, a BPA-free coating on them, I still get a little nervous about using those with the tomatoes. And I try to stick with something that doesn't have metal when I'm canning my tomatoes, because of the reaction of the tomatoes with the metal. So I'm just mixing that in there. And this obviously is going to be very runny as is. And you can see the globs of fat I left in there just to make a nice rich sauce. So now, the reason I do this way, you can use like a tomato paste, but I try to avoid canned tomato products at all costs and only use my own home canned stuff. And I don't like making a tomato paste. I've never actually done it, but it's such a long process. It requires you to cook and cook and cook. What I'd rather do is use a lot of dehydrated ingredients that will soak up the extra liquid in my canned tomatoes. So I've got, you know, rather than using fresh, I've got some dehydrated garlic. I've got red pepper flakes. So obviously the hot things are the things you're going to want to consider maybe not even putting in there. There are some things you really got to have, like you got to have your garlic, and I like to double up. I use the garlic, dehydrated garlic pieces, and I like to put in lots of granulated garlic as well. I forgot to refill this. Dehydrated onion. And I'm going to put that's probably about close to, that's about a quarter of a cup, I would say. So I'll guess on the measurements the best I can, and you can then see. And remember, when you see me putting anything in my hand, I have small child-size hands. So I usually wear like gloves. I have to get large child or extra small women if I can find them. And if you watch my last soap video, where any of my soap videos where I'm wearing the rubber gloves, those are smalls, and they're still swimming on me. So just keep that in mind. So for my dehydrated jalapenos, this is one thing I highly suggest. If you like jalapenos, get a whole. Whether you're growing them or not, this is a really great way to preserve them. We don't do well growing jalapenos in our area. We can get some, but it's hard to get a good crop. So I bought a 20-pound box of jalapenos from our local produce stand, and then dehydrated most of them, whatever I didn't use to make salsa that year. And these have been great. Love them, love them, love them. So I'll be doing that again. So, and they do seem to make things hotter. And don't you love, here's me, just hiding my nose, splashing stuff everywhere. So, another must for your enchilada is cumin. Gotta have your cumin. And this is one of those that most people are going to want to use a smaller amount. It's not that it's spicy, it's that this flavor, that I don't consider it spicy, like not hot, but it has a very strong flavor. But I love the flavor of it, and so I like to use a generous amount. I will put at least a tablespoon. Okay, so, and I'm going to say more. That just doesn't look like enough to me. So I'm going to say about 2 tablespoons. And I'll show you when I add the paprika, which I'm going to put a tablespoon in, what a tablespoon looks like about in my hand. Like that. So if you have big hands and you see me measuring this stuff out, don't fill it up that full, because that's going to be a lot. So that's paprika. I don't always use the coriander, but I love coriander seed. And it's a good, so something to consider. If you like the taste of coriander, you might want to throw some coriander seed in there. I like the, some people may not like the texture it makes. So I'm going to put about, it's about a tablespoon-ish. You're going to need at least a teaspoon of salt. And I'll show you what a teaspoon looks like in my hand. It's about what a teaspoon looks like. Okay. So that might be a generous teaspoon. So the good way to find out if you like measuring this way is get your measuring spoons, measure out the amounts, and then pour it into your hand and see what it fills up, and then you'll know. You'll know, and then you can be able to look at it, because a lot of things you don't have to have it be exact, especially when it comes to herbs and spices, because it's going to be a matter of taste anyway. So, and another place, I'm always talking about my mixed greens, my dehydrated mixed greens. These all come from my garden, and one of these days I'll actually put down the list of what all really is in here, but it's everything from dandelion leaves to grape leaves, beet greens to borage, dandelion, did I say dandelion leaves? I think I said that. But anyway, lots of good stuff. Strawberry leaves, carrot tops, rutabaga leaves, greens, kale, so on and so forth. Chili powder is the other thing that is a must in your enchilada sauce. So you're going to use usually about twice as much chili powder as you do cumin. So we'll give you a pretty good guess. So I'm going to do that. Since I did that twice with the cumin, I'm doing that 4 times with the chili powder. And of course it's going to depend on how much sauce. So you saw I had a quart of tomatoes. You can use much more beef broth than that. In fact, I think I'm going to see if I got more in there I can dump in here, because this is looking pretty thick as is. And then oregano is another one I recommend that you use in your enchilada sauce. And I'm going to use about, I would say you might want to start with a teaspoon. I'm going to use a little better than a teaspoon, not quite a tablespoon. That might actually be close to a tablespoon. But oregano, another one of those highly medicinal herbs that helps kill the, candida overgrowth, other parasites in the gut. So getting oregano into your diet as much as possible is important. All right, so you can see I went ahead and added, I managed to get probably another cup of that beef broth out because I decided it really needed more. And I went ahead and added that in there so you can see what that looks like. Color is very dark from all the spices. But now remember, we like lots of flavor, lots of spice. So you may want to use at least half, maybe even less than what I'm using in some of these spices. I thought about putting cayenne pepper in here too, but the jalapenos and the red peppers, when they're cooked in there, add quite a bit of heat to it. So I don't want to get too crazy. I can handle hot stuff a little better than Mr. Rain can, so I don't want to get too crazy. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and go put it on the wood stove and let it simmer for a while so that it can, you know, you just want to set it on a low to medium heat, and you're just wanting to get it cooked through. Basically all I'm doing is kind of heating it through and getting all those dehydrated things, you know, rehydrated and cooked. And then yeah, and then I'll be back when I'm ready to fill the I'm going to go ahead and make the tortillas. And again, you can find that video up here, and you can also find the video to my mixed greens up here. And I think I explain a few other things I use in there. And then I'll come back when I'm ready to fill the enchiladas. All right, so my tortillas are all cooked. I got these cooked up on the wood stove. And today's tortillas, I added just poppy seed to them. I didn't do anything else fancy. No dandelion petals or calendula petals because they're not growing right now. So anyway, those are ready to go. And then I've got my beef all cut up here from the leftover roast, and I've got my cheese. Now today I'm going to be using about 16 ounces, two 8-ounce packages of the Organic Valley mild cheddar cheese. I actually prefer a sharper cheese, but this is the only organic cheese that's carried locally for us. So I try to stock up on this whenever it goes on sale, and then I just freeze it. So I love freezing it because then I don't have to grate it. So you just crumble it. So if you've never frozen cheese, it crumbles really nicely. So I wanted to show you that if you've never done this before. You just crumble it right up. Look at that. No need to grate. It's super easy. And we like easy, right? Well, especially when we're hard working and we got all these different chores and things going on. We want to be able to cook good, healthy meals, but also have them be simple. So here's one thing you can do with your cheese so you can save time grating. Look at that, how easy that is. So that's going to go inside, and I'm going to go ahead and do another package because, I mean, people, this is enchiladas. We like lots of cheese. All right, so I went ahead and did take a good blob of that beef fat and stuck it in here and then melted it so it's coating the bottom of the, I set it on the wood stove so it'd melt and then coat the bottom of my enamelware. And now I'm going to get started. So I've got my homemade tortilla. These are actually still warm. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of the sauce on there and spread it around. So you don't have to put a lot of sauce in the middle, just enough to kind of help soften up those tortillas if you get them a little bit too hard, which sometimes I tend to do. Sprinkle some cheese in there, sprinkle a little bit of whatever meat you're using, and then just roll it up. Press it off to the side. And you just keep doing this. This one has a crispy side. I mean, if it's really crispy, let that sauce sit in there and soften it up good. The heat and then the moisture will soften that up and make it easier to roll. And even if it's still not easy to roll, it's no big deal. Just mush it together. I've had some that were real fragile and they broke all the pieces, and I just let them break. Like this one's kind of doing that because it doesn't matter. This is more of a casserole anyway. And I just keep doing that. I usually use 8 tortillas. Now I made 12 tortillas out of this batch instead of 10 or 8. You can do either. Depends on how big you want your tortillas. And I wanted to keep these a little bit smaller and then have some, some extras because Mr. Rain does like to snack on them. And so then I usually have 8 total in my pan. And you may be wondering, and I say this in other videos, why would I need to make so many tortillas or so many enchiladas, such a big pan, if there's only 2 of us? Well, that's because I like to have lots of leftovers. We like to eat on this for a couple of nights. You know, I'll mix it up. But I also take the leftovers and put them in Mr. Rain's lunches. And I still got to do a video on that and show you, it'll be a pretty simple video. Show you what I use. Maybe I'll do that one tomorrow. And how I pack up his lunches. And so it's really easy to pack his lunches in the morning. Alright, so my enchiladas are all in the pan. And so I used about half my, actually I didn't use quite half the cheese, but that's okay, I'm still going to use it all. And I used about half of my sauce. And so now I'm going to take the rest of the sauce and just pour it over the top. Got a little more sauce than usual, but we like lots of sauce. It keeps it from being dry. And I got a little bit of meat left over too, so I'm just going to sprinkle that on top. And then Mr. Rain will have the rest of these tortillas to snack on. And then all of this rest of this cheese is just going to sprinkle right over the top. Alright, so this is what it looks like in my pan before it's cooked. All ready to go. And I wanted to explain why I like to use the enamelware for such things like this. Because I have a lid, right? So I put my lid on, I put this at the back in the little egg clove on my wood stove that you've seen in other videos, and I'm going to let it bake for an hour to make sure the cheese gets all melted and everything. You know, I like it when the tortillas get crispy on the bottom and the cheese is melted, it's all heated through, and it's really, really good. Now, if you're doing this in a conventional oven, you're going to want to set your temperature at about 350 to 375. I wish I could remember for sure. This is just a guess. And bake for 20 to 30 minutes. I know 20 to 30 minutes is the right time for doing it in the conventional oven. I don't remember the temperature. I'm kind of going for the lower rate. You know, you could probably go as high as 400, but it's been years and years since I've made enchiladas in my conventional oven. I always either use my solar oven, which you can find a link to in the description box below. It'll be the first link you see. And I've had that for 5 years, and it works great even in our very cloudy area. I do get enough nice days that I can use that quite a bit in the summertime. Or I do this on my wood stove, and you can find a video right up here where I even made a batch of enchiladas from start to finish, sauce, tortillas, and everything on my rocket stove. In fact, I cooked the whole day on the rocket stove, and I'm hoping to do more of that and do more this coming summer and do more videos on that. So go look for that, and I'm going to insert a picture of the finished product right here. Alright, so I hope you learned something new and realized just how easy and frugal it can be to cook such things for yourself and for your family at home. Alright, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless. So I bought like a 20-pound box from the... So I bought a 20-pound... Really?